Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and more Birthright as we keep working our way through the Khinasi domains. Today we have an actual NPC domain, the alluded to in several previous videos, Black Spear Tribes and Djira. So Chaotic Evil makes sense and it's not available for PCs as we just said. As far as geographical territory, it is fairly large, so you see a lot going on here. And for the most part, fairly sparsely settled, although Ras Ghul, not Ras Al Ghul, level 4 province there, although Ras Assad is not populated at all. You can see the law is kind of spread all over there, what little law there is. No temple activity whatsoever. There's sort of a unified guild activity, and then sources are kind of also spread out a little bit, somewhat in line with the law, but not 100%. So, and again, this is really a DM's realm as far as what they choose to do with it, but also should players somehow wander in here and adventure, there's a lot to consider. So, the Black Spear Tribes, a nation of gnolls, roam the ruins of Djira. They follow the warlord El Shaygul, Lord of Ghouls. So, and I can't remember if they give us more on that at some other point, but like that's just such a cool name there, but also like, it's only a one-page entry as far as the realm goes, but so there's plenty of room for you to fill in some of the blanks here, but that's just a great one, and that could be sort of a hidden boss that the players would eventually maybe come to have to deal with, right? So maybe they start wiping out some of the gnolls, but then, there's really a power behind that, right? And learning just what is this Lord of Ghouls, right? So we don't always get too much undead stuff in Birthright. So, law. From his dark citadel of Ras Ghul, El Shaygul maintains an iron grip on the tribes near his center of power. The gnolls' worship of their pantheon remains too unorganized to support temple holdings, right? They don't really have true temples. The guilds, the Grodny Koster of Kozlovny, maintains covert contact with El Shaygul, but no one else has had much mercantile success here. That being said, for being covert, there's 4 holdings, a couple of 1s, an actual 2, and then that sort of starter spot there at level 0 up in Alarin. Sources: El Shaygul, a powerful sorcerer, quickly corrupted the lands around his citadel, but Yusef El Masir of Masir still controls sources in the southern hills, so that's where that's a little bit split and contested there. And when we say controls quite a bit, a couple of level 5s, actually 3 level 5s and a level 3, that's nothing to sniff at. So if you're running Masir, then that would also be sort of another source of conflict there, because I'm sure the quote-unquote Lord of Ghouls probably doesn't like that he's contesting with someone else for magic. So we get a little bit here. El Shaygul is a level 19 wizard, which is just bonkers, right? That's Anshe levels of power typically here, but we have that. And again, they leave some blank here, unknown bloodline, lawful evil, but he has to have some sort of bloodline because he is an actual wizard, not a magician. Is believed to be an evil human sorcerer of exceptional skill. At least that's how most of his neighbors treat him. However, he poses far more of a threat than most Khinasi know. He is one of the Lost, an ancient undead sorcerer lords of surpassing strength who stood by Azrai's side in the centuries before Deismar. Conceals his true nature for now while pursuing his secret designs. And that's one where, again, also, I think in a couple other sources we get a little bit more on them, but that's just a whole nother level of big bads to throw at the players there. And again, the history and lore of Birthright is just so wonderful. If you go back, right, we have all the events. Deismar is obviously a pivotal event, and how that affected the Pantheon and everything. And then we have all the Anshe, of course, which again, check out our series on all of those as we cover them. But then we have this on top of it. So, though he claims the entire Black Spear region as his domain, calling it Kinad Ghul, the land of the Ghoul, his bond with Shadow World hinders him. He can only appear briefly on this side of the shadows, which limits his powers and options as a ruler, which also makes it kind of interesting. I feel like we read on that at one point, but there's also sort of like a dark rider type of figure in the Shadow World, which many believe is Azrai himself trapped over there, but it'd be interesting if it was, again, some of these other Lost. So think of almost those guys as like somewhat comparable to the ring wraiths and everything from Loader. So typically he can only take 1 action per domain turn. He also finds his hands tied by his own agents, the savage chaotic gnolls of the Black Spear. He has spent more time forcing the gnolls to get along with each other than he is issuing them to launch any serious offensives. Well, because the gnolls do be chaotic. So, other important NPCs. Garrick Zul Turbun, level 9 fighter. Azrai, minuscule bloodline, but also still chaotic evil. Great Yan and chieftain of the Black Spear tribes, actually believes himself the ruler of the provinces. Of course, he's merely a puppet for El Shegul, and always ends up doing as the sorcerer wishes. As a vassal, though, he holds the southern provinces in the overlord's name and donates all his regency to the Ghoul Lord. But nonetheless, the level 9 blooded Gnoll fighter is going to be pretty damn scary. But also with the chaotic nature of the gnolls, that could be something where, almost similar to like your typical orc situation, right? Maybe there are some challengers that do occasionally rise up, and that could be an area or a way for someone to start destabilizing the Black Spear area and hopefully causing some friction there to make them even less of a threat. But again, the ghoul overlord here is sort of the secret and major power behind everything. The first of the Black Spear tribes came to this area more than 100 years ago as marauders and scouts for the armies of Aftane. With fire and sword, they laid waste to what was left of the state of Djira after the Basilisk's rampages. Other Gnoll bands followed the rumors of loot to join their kinsmen. During most of the last century, Djira has been occupied by bands of looters, garrisons of Aftanian and Joffrin troops, and Djiran loyalists still hoping to free their land. About 20 years ago, though, the Gnolls organized and drove the garrisons out of their realm, quote-unquote their realm. In this effort, the Khinasi saw the first influence of El Shegul, who uses his sorcery to fuse the feuding war bands into a single army. Under his direction, the Gnolls also have attacked Masir and Jafra. However, the mage's need to return to the Shadow World frequently prevents him from exploiting these victories, so the moment he leaves Cerelia, the Gnolls basically just go back to infighting, which everyone is certainly thankful for. Now, he did take as his fortress the sinister castle Razgul, built on a barren hilltop. And that could be a fun dungeon for just like the DM, because there is no like adventure in and around this, but that could be a fun dungeon and sort of lair for the DM to really build up. Some Orog warriors serve the wizard there, but never range far. As Razgul's reputation as a place of evil grows, though, so does neighbors' fear of the Ghoul Lord's power. And again, easy campaign structure that we can build around that, right? Taking on this big bad and really confronting him. But again, level 19 sorcerer is just bonkers. We don't get sort of the full stat block on him, I don't believe. But again, free, for the DM, feel free to play with that as much as you want and build up a truly frightening adversary. Djira. So the ruins of the great city of Djira lie near the headwaters of the El Khadr River. After sacking the capital in battle more than a century ago, an Aftanian army demolished its walls. The Loyalists did occupy the city again, but it fell 10 years later to a Gnoll horde. Gnolls now occupy the extensive ruins, and the Great Yan holds court there. So we got two different major bad areas, right? The castle, right, with the Ghoul Lord, but then also this as sort of a major objective and really taking out some of the ghouls and maybe even the ghoul leadership here. So plenty of cool stuff as far as adventuring goes. So we got sort of, we can scale this up from sort of low-level adventures, maybe sort of probing the areas we know the Gnolls are a threat. So just depending on what nation, or just if the adventures are just pure adventurers, not necessarily tied to any nation, but maybe start getting a reputation for maybe treasure hunting in here, who knows what, right? But over time, their rating should definitely provoke more organization, maybe an effort to sort of resist these incursions. But there's we can easily scale up the difficulty here with either quantity or quality of adversaries, but there's also some hope here, right? There could be maybe efforts to, again, some of these loyalists maybe that are still out there in different pockets, maybe finding some of these scattered bands or peoples, and then maybe making an actual effort to sort of start fighting against the bad guys here and retaking some of this, maybe just establishing a new realm, right? It's not like the Basilisk's actual domain in the sense that it's just completely ruined as far as like toxic and everything like that. Certainly the lands around the Ghoul Lord's castle are going to be pretty dangerous, but this could be a super worthwhile campaign where the players accomplish something major by just driving out these two different evil forces and really reclaiming something. Certainly, they would make a huge name for themselves. Now, if they're the employee of one of the other Khinasi realms and accomplish that maybe to help expand that realm, or if they're domain rulers pursuing that same goal, again, there's such a worthwhile campaign here, and really, would, I think, garner all kinds of popular support with former remnants of that, and just finding a way to sort of fight back against all these different evil forces out there, right? You got, again, the ones that are actually here. Aftane, of course, is a problem as well as a realm, and just so much more. But this is just a cool, straightforward campaign as far as doing some good old hack and slashing, but also really pursuing the political angle and just the glory of that. And certainly a lot of potential riches, right? It's a city sacked. I'm sure it's been picked over, but maybe there's just areas that weren't or that haven't been fully explored, and maybe delving a little bit deeper, literally and figuratively, into the realm would accomplish that. And then you have just this fantastic supervillain that we don't get a full bunch of detail out, but again, just really exploring the idea of the Lost and how that connects to Azrai and stuff is absolutely huge. So let us know, guys, if you have run anything here with the Black Spear Tribes. Hit us up in the comments, like and subscribe. And if you want to see videos like this early and support the channel, check us out on our Patreon, guys. All the support there really does matter. It helps us track down all the old modules and everything, and bring you guys a lot of cool content, and also a lot of exclusives over there on the channel. A lot of different tiers to back, even as low as, I think, $2 a month for actual paid support really helps us out. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one.